You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening.
Got an idea that keeps you up at night? Or one that makes people say, that would never work?
Perfect. That's what we talk about here on Innovation Fuel. So let's get that conversation started.
Hi, Dave. How are you today?
Well, Glory, I just got my water bill again. And guess what? My son loves the shower. And
My daughter same. Yeah, she loves showers. She doesn't come out of it.
my God, what are we going to do? I can't believe this thing. We've got to come up with a better way to save this water, reuse this water, and make it sustainable. And I think we might have someone today that might be able to help us.
Let's welcome Claire Shao, Chief Operation Officer at Rainstick Shower, to another episode of Innovation Fuel. Welcome, Claire. Welcome, Dave.
It is raining outside, and you might want to be stuck inside, and maybe a warm shower sounds like a good idea. But before we get to warm showers and what we're with our guest, Claire here from Rainstick Showers, we have to find a little bit more about Claire. Claire, you got an extensive background in technology, in sustainability, clean technologies, and even some background in business, and you're the chief operating officer. Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Of course. Well, first of all, Gloria and Dave, thank you so much for having us here and having myself here to speak about my company's mission, and Rainstick Shower. Well, it's always hard to summarize my career or kind of how I got to where I am now very quickly. But, after like a lengthy career in consulting, working in London in industries, including capital markets and energy, I found myself making a bit of a personal decision to move from London to Vancouver. And that was very much based on what I decided to prioritize in my life at that time, which was being able to be closer to the mountains, be closer to the sea, and be able to pursue a lot of the outdoor hobbies that I missed when I was in London. And so since moving over, I've loved being here, and I think it's given me a lot of opportunities, one of which was discovering Rainstick and the clean tech and sustainability mission of our company. And I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to work with this company and also to get my first startup experience as well. And that's pretty much where I am today.
So, Claire, tell us a little bit more about what is Rainstick and what is the mission that you guys are on?
Yeah, and I'm really glad you asked about the mission, because that really, really drives what we do day in and day out. And I think that's so important for us to be able to share that first and foremost as our story. And what Rainstick is about is we want to create solutions that can help people to save water without compromise. And the without compromise part is key part, because we know from just being consumers ourselves, but also from our market research, that we will not adopt a new solution or a new technology if it means that we have to compromise on our quality of life or our existing experience. And so for us, it was about how can we enable you and I to be sustainable, but without having to affect the quality that we currently experience, or perhaps even to improve it to better what we have. And so this is how we came up with our first product, the Rainstick Shower, which not only allows us to save water within our homes at point of use, but it's creating a really strong flow rate in our shower. So you're actually getting a better flow rate than most of the showers that you see in the market today.
So does that mean I can take longer showers?
You can take longer showers guilt-free.
How we can manage the cost of sustainable products and customer expectation?
Yeah, and I think what I would say to that is, as with any new technology coming into the market, and we recognize that we are a new technology, we're a new way of doing things, it is going to be expensive from the outset. And so that's why we want to encourage people to share in our vision and our mission of what we are trying to do here. And certainly it is our parallel mission to be able to decrease that cost, that sort of barrier to entry for more and more consumers as we scale and grow. But looking at the Rainstick itself, there is a lot within our product. There's a lot of technology there that enables us to save water. And you don't get that in current showers. So there's a lot of benefits contained within our product, which is why we stand behind our cost and our sales price.
That is great. So do you have any problem with regulatory body for new technology like bylaws or anything, or no, everyone was very welcome?
So we are fully certified. So we are approved to be able to sell within the North American market, so within the US and within Canada. When it comes to, so we don't have any regulatory barriers in that respect. So what we found is the main thing is to be able to educate and to be able to provide awareness, not just to the consumers, but also all parties that are part of a bathroom installation. So that could be the interior designer, that could be the builder, the installer or contractor themselves. And it's through education and awareness of making them known that this product exists and what it does. And then we also work very hard to provide customer support or professional assets to be able to explain why our product isn't that much more complicated than installing your average shower and how it can be part of a standard bathroom renovation today.
It doesn't need any special code for architectures. Don't you think the easiest one is to build during the building and designing use that one and renovation?
So yeah, you don't need any special code. Our shower can be installed as part of any new build or retrofitted as part of any bathroom renovation.
So, Claire, going into market adoption, because it is a sort of a new idea, a new concept, and it's getting the idea across, but then it's also, there's a little bit of barriers to entry here, because if you're not renovating, how would someone maybe want to encourage them to transform their current system?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, obviously we recognize that there is a timeliness when you are looking for sustainable options and you're wanting to incorporate it into your home. You need to line it up with perhaps a larger project that's going on within your home for that. We are able to support customers, regardless of whether very early on in the decision making or if they already stripped everything down to their foundations and they're looking for options quickly. We can provide advice and help them with their decision making. As of now, we unfortunately do not have an option that allows consumers to install kind of directly within their shower without having to do a top to bottom installation. But that is something that we are looking to do in the future, as well as being able to adapt to other bathroom configurations, such as a shower head over a bathtub, or even, depending on size, dimensions, different setups and so on. We really want to make our product something that can be flexible and plugged into any kind of setup within your bath.
How this technology impact water pollution? How this technology can impact water pollution?
So the great thing about this is that the Rainstick helps to address water cleanliness and hygiene, but also saving water directly at point of use. Because one of the amazing facts that I found out when I started working for Rainstick is that the average person in North America uses 350 liters of water per person per day, which is insane to me. And I feel like I try to be savvy with my water usage, but obviously when you think about laundry, when you think about dishwasher, toilet flushing, so on, it quickly adds up. And so it's really important for us to be able to provide these solutions at point of use, because that's directly where the majority of the water is being used within the household. 50% of that 350 liters is directly within the bathroom. And that's why, as a company, we decided to focus on bathroom solutions. But to answer your question, so one of the things we really wanted to provide reassurance for the consumers is the cleanliness and hygiene of the water. So that's why Rainstick has a 3-stage cleaning process to guarantee and rid of 99.99% of bacteria and viruses that's contained within the water. And it directly addresses viruses like Legionella, which is as a result of stagnant water in our water pipes. That was one thing that was very, very important to us. We knew it was going to be one of the top questions that consumers would ask when they look at a recirculating shower. And so this is something that we wanted to be able to say, first and foremost, what the Rainstick does and why it can address their concerns.
How does Rainstick measure the environmental impact of its products? This product for sure, not future products that come. And what results have they observed so far?
What we can do, so we don't have access to customer data. Obviously, that's private information. But as a consumer, there is a Rainstick app which you can use to not only control the shower, to be able to switch it on and off remotely, and to be able to control the temperature, but it also tells you how much water and energy you are saving. So we don't have access to that data, but you as a consumer will be directly able to see, oh, so I've been using it for a month and I can see I've saved this many liters or this many gallons or this many kilowatts of water and energy. And I think that's a great thing to have because it really puts that autonomy and power within the consumer's hands so they can see the direct result of their actions and choosing a sustainable product like ours.
Yet said this coming from another perspective, we've seen the sort of an example of this solar energy element. We see it in California with them using solar power to offset the cost of energy because it's cost so much. Is there an opportunity for you and Rainstick to be able to tap into places like something like California that has these really stiff restrictions on water consumption? Australia, we have to take time showers. I think Australia's in time shower elements. But is there any places where you can leverage your technology towards maybe influencing government to give incentives to get people to change?
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great question. In terms of consumer demand, a lot of our existing customers or consumers who reach out to us directly and say, you have a great product. How do we get this installed in our homes? And there is such a strong correlation between those customers and those who live in water scarce areas who are directly feeling the pain of having to either save water or being forced to save water by the lack of it and through local municipal regulations. They want to be sustainable. They're driven to do that, but they are perhaps experiencing that pain within their day-to-day lives. So they're looking at alternative ways to not compromise on their quality of life. And so, like you said, California, places like Arizona, we find also a lot of up and down the West Coast, even into Canada. I think living by the sea makes us think that we are not water scarce or makes us take for granted our water resources. But, salt water is very different from fresh water. We can't just take water from the ocean and be able to use it in our households. There's a lot of filtration and process that needs to happen, which is also energy intensive. And so we find that people are becoming more aware through the lack of water now, even living by the ocean. And so there is this real drive and this kind of consumer need to be able to look at ways, not just a tangible, but an accumulating large impact to their life where they can see the direct result of that.
I have questions about your strategic alliance. Do you have any strategy to approach larger organizations and other tech clean innovators to amplify Rainstick's approach and impact?
Yeah, for sure. So we, as COO, working very closely with our CEO and co-founders, we have to be always mindful of us being a small team. We are a very passionate and driven team, super capable, but we only have so much time and days in the year. I'm always, I don't want my team to burn out. And so we need to be very careful about our strategy, how we broaden into the market and how we grow. So we don't want to do too much too soon, even though, perhaps we're getting great feedback, we're winning awards, we're getting messages saying, when are you kind of come into our market? But, each time we enter into a new market, there's regulatory concerns, there's partnerships, there's, okay, what's the strategy within that market? How are we going to market and sell? I think for us, we want to be able to focus on those where there's a strong correlation between our product, the need, and then also our consumers. And so right now, our strategy is to focus on those in living in off-grid or near off-grid setups where the consumers are looking at building sustainable homes and incorporating sustainable elements within their homes. And they are looking to build their home within an area where it is energy or water scarce. And so through that, we hope to be able to, further increase our, not just our product reputation, but brand reputation as being that company that provides sustainable technology for our consumers. And then to be able to broaden out and grow to be larger companies, larger distributors.
So, Claire, with all the different things that are happening around the economy with scarcity and elements of the economy changing and adapting and the adaptation of AI and artificial intelligence, is your organization encouraged to want to scale fast in order to meet the demand because of the changing element? I know you say moving slow, and I understand the moving slow piece, but is there a space where moving too slow might be missing the opportunity?
Yeah, and I don't think we are moving slow in that respect. I think we're just being very considered because it has so many opportunities for us. Even in the 2 years that I've been at Rainstick, we've done so much, but there's also been a lot of lessons learned there where we have sometimes stretched ourselves too thin and had to draw back and say, okay, what is our core focus? What do we want to achieve in the next few months and in the next few years? That can sometimes be a bit of a struggle when, especially as someone like myself who's very used to thinking way out into the future. But as a startup, when you have a small team, you have to be agile, nimble, and look at, okay, what's the immediate fire and how do we respond to that? So I think we are being very considered with our approach, but rightly so. I think a lot of the new technologies, around AI does allow us to support our roles day in and day out to be more efficient and maybe to be more creative and new ways to be able to respond to our customers or to be able to help customers understand what our technology does because it is so new. I think we're also looking at ways that we can incorporate new technology into our future products and our product roadmap in the future as well. So there's a lot of opportunities there that we are always revisiting and reviewing of like how we can embed that into not just our day-to-day work, but into our roadmap in the future. And I think that's the benefit of being a startup and a small company is that you're able to quickly and very agile in an agile way be able to review those and make those decisions.
So that's perfect. But I really want to back to that cost and price, the questions. Again, sustainability is often a luxury tools and products. But I think that even though it's something society urgent right now, it's about especially water. Water is a big problem everywhere. Even in BC, Vancouver, when it's raining all the time, still we have a water problem. So how can businesses and government work together to overcome this challenge, especially in your area? Is there any incentive for you in Canada, BC? Is there any regulations that actually support technology like you?
Unfortunately, there are no current incentives for a product like ours. And the reason for that is because it's so new. We are the first and only recirculating shower available in North America, as in Canada and the US. And so it's a completely new market segment. And, understandably, that means that we are also having to spearhead a lot of the conversations when it comes to what does a recirculating shower mean, be able to differentiate it from, for example, grey water, and be able to educate. That, as you can imagine, can take a while. And because there's no current regulation where we fit perfectly into those terms, it can be hard to say for governments to kind of understand where we fit in from a regulation, but also from an incentive or rebate perspective. And so that is, something that we are continuing to work on to, be in the right room to have those conversations. And that also comes from support from our partners, whether they're builders, distributors, and, kind of being open to those technologies.
I can see that this is very challenging.
What does the future look like for you, Claire? And it looks like for Rainstick right now, we talked about a little bit of some of the early technology of the shower. What's the next products that are coming to market that you're trying to bring to market? And what do you see for your next 5 years?
Right. Well, the next product we're very excited about is the Rainstick Imwall. And that was developed directly from feedback from the designer community that are looking for ways to integrate the existing design of the Rainstick shower, but in a way where it can adapt to other fixtures within the bathroom. So what it simply means is that we take the technology that you see in the Rainstick shower and we contain it within a box that can be installed behind your cabinet or behind the wall. And so all of the fixtures that you see in the shower, so the shower head, the controller is integrated. And so the end effect is a lot more sleek and it allows the designer community or consumers to be able to then adapt it to the other designs within their bathroom as well. So we're very excited about that. It also comes with a little bit of a cost reduction as well. So it's also moving in that direction of making our products more and more accessible to the mass market. And in the future, we do have a 5-10 year product roadmap. We really hope to be able to execute that vision. Right now, our core focus is to be able to expand the Rainstick Shower and, expand our brand and for it to be associated with someone who's, spearheading sustainable technology.
And I want to leave with this, Claire, because I think it's really important for two sides, because you've got experience in a bigger world, bigger organizations, and now with these startups. And, as we throw some advice out to the listener, what should they be thinking about around development, around sustainability and technology in that large or small elements of business? What does that look like?
So I think for me, I feel like I learned a lot from just a personal perspective being at Rainstick with, I think a lot of people, when they think about sustainability, it tends to be something that they feel is overused, or maybe they become a little bit disengaged with it because it's a word that gets thrown around a lot. Or sometimes you feel like, what impact am I really having? I'm trying to do these small things every day, but if the bigger companies are not doing it, then what does that mean? Like, should I just give up? And sometimes it can feel a little bit disenchanted with kind of what is having real impact. And so for myself, since joining this startup and kind of being part of a startup community of those who are passionate about climate change, who are working on these technologies, it's exposed me to so much more people who are, I would say, in a similar boat to myself and my team, who are really plugging away at these technologies that, maybe the mass market won't ever hear about, but that is doing real good and really, really exciting things that are really, really affecting change. And that has made me, given me so much more drive, but also being able to share the challenges of startup with that community has been so beneficial and so rewarding. And so I think what I would say is, it's easy to sort of get caught up in what the bigger companies may or may not be doing, but taking the time to look at kind of the smaller companies, those who are the real kind of ingenious, exciting, innovative ideas that are coming in. I think, being able to support those companies, watch them grow, see how they're doing is really going to drive that passion within that space if you do have an interest in it. And so I really encourage you to do the research to find the small companies and to be able to advocate and provide them that support.
I love it, Claire. This conversation, I love what you guys are trying to do. I love where you're going. I love the story we just heard. Claire, before we wrap up today, let's get this audience engaged. Let's get them engaged in the conversation, whatever way we want to spin this. Let's get them engaged in our social media. Do you have something like a little micro or macro challenge that we can throw out to them, that we can get it into those social feeds and get them talking?
Yeah, I think very simply for me is being aware of how much water you're using. It's something that I think we're not really aware of. You don't have to be tracking and monitoring your water. Simply have a search online of, how much water your dishwasher or your laundry uses, and just add that up over how many times you're washing your clothes day to day, or even just the energy impact from doing your wash on a warm mode versus a cool or cold mode. All of these things make such a difference. And I know, as I was, that everyone will be surprised with how much water that takes. And I think another good challenge is try using a shower for just 3 minutes, or even if you have money, try using a low flow shower, because I've done both of those things and it's a lot more difficult than you think it is. And I think it's just, using those ways to challenge yourself to think a bit more carefully and considerably about water makes you realize that, it is a scarce resource and we only have a limited supply. And hopefully being more conscious about our water usage in the future.
Absolutely love it. I love it. Thank you very much, Claire. It's been awesome.
Big ideas don't grow by themselves.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Share, and let's fuel the next one together.
Innovation Fuel is produced by JPod Creations. Find out more about the show at theinnovationfuel.ca.